It's day 2 of the decluttering workshop. Yesterday we got ready for the week. So we did our prep, we gathered supplies. If you missed that video, you can click here or in the description below and go check that out and then come back for day 2. So today we are going to do planning for where we're actually going to declutter. Okay, so I've made a printable to make this a little easier. I've put that link down in the description below so you can grab that, get a pen, and we'll get started. We are going to work our way through these questions. This is our second prep day. Tomorrow we'll actually start the decluttering. So the first thing we want to do is identify what space you want to focus on this week. This can be like just a cabinet, or maybe a bookshelf, or an entire room, okay? It's totally up to you. Only take on what you think that you can handle. There have been many times when I told my husband, like, I want to declutter the whole house this weekend. And he understandably looks at me like, oh no, like she's lost it. Because honestly, that is not something that we could do in a weekend. So now I know to focus on a space, focus on a closet or my dresser. Choose whatever works for you. Then we want to ask ourselves, why do we want to get this space decluttered and organized? So the space that I want to work on is my entryway, because it's the first thing people see when they come to our door or walk in our home. And I hate that the first thing they see is clutter. I'm going to share that with you tomorrow, as much as I kind of don't want to, because it's not like there's like a jacket and a pair of shoes out. There's clutter out. There's a lot of it. Our entryway kind of become a dumping ground, and we don't use the front door that often because we enter our home from our garage. So our entryway is kind of just this pass-through room for us, but it's also the first place people see when they come over. And anytime there's a knock at the door, or the doorbell rings or whatever, it's like, how am I going to either avoid this person or answer the door so that they can't see this room? Oh, that's like a horrible way to live, right? So I'm going to be starting in my entryway. And the reason I want to get that decluttered is because I don't want to have that pit in my stomach anymore. I don't want to fear a knock at the door or the doorbell ringing. I don't want to have my first thought when someone shows up be, oh no, like how can I get them to go away? That is not how I want to live in my home. The next question is, how would my life improve if my entryway was cleaned? Well, I would no longer have an internal freak out moment when someone shows up at the door, and that would be awesome. I would no longer walk through that room and just feel like this overwhelming burden of all this stuff that I have to take care of. I've read a quote somewhere that decluttering is nothing more than delayed decisions, I think is what it said. And that really resonated with me because that is exactly what happens. It's a bunch of like, I'll deal with this later. I'll put this away later. I don't know what to do with this. I'll decide later, right? And then the next thing you know, all those I'll take care of it laters are cluttering up your house, and then it feels just overwhelming. I don't want to feel that way anymore. So that is how my life would be better. I would no longer have that pit in my stomach. I no longer feel like I want to get people out of here as quickly as possible. And I'd no longer be embarrassed that the first impression we make when someone comes to our home is, wow, this place has a lot of stuff in it. The next question to consider is, what is the purpose of this space? So whatever space or room you're working on, how would that be used in a perfect world, or ideally for your life? What belongs in that room? What doesn't belong in that room? What kind of things do you need to make that room function for the way that you live? The next step is take pictures of that space or that room before you get started. Now, I know that this can sometimes be painful for people, or people on the flip side feel like that's not necessary. I know what it looks like. I'm looking at it right now with my eyes. But there is something kind of crazy magical that happens when you take a picture of a space. I think that people who live in clutter can become what I call clutter blind, right? We just get used to it. We become kind of numb to the piles and the messes and we don't really see them anymore. And sometimes it takes something to shock us to make us see what we've been living in. The camera is a great way to do that. Another great way to do that is, you know, an unexpected guest or something like that. But with a camera and taking a picture, you will be able to see things that you have not kind of seen with your own eyes. And then you'll also be able to document how much progress you make as you go through the stages of decluttering. And that can be really powerful and motivating. Sometimes things get messier before they get better, and we kind of feel like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I made things worse, or am I really even making any progress? And when you compare the pictures, even if you're not done yet, you can see like, oh wow, yeah, there is less stuff in here, and hey, I have made some progress. This does look better now. And that's a real motivator. So definitely don't skip this part. Take pictures of your space. You do not have to share them with anyone, okay? I would love to see them if you want to share them, but you definitely want to have them for your own personal reference. And the last step for today is estimate how long you think it's going to take you to complete this room. So I know for myself, I can be very bad about estimating how long things are gonna take. Sometimes I'm like usually way over or way under. Like when I say to my husband, I want to declutter the whole house in a weekend, and he gets that like deer in the headlights look, it's because he's much better about estimating these things than I am. But at the same time, sometimes I'm so overwhelmed by a room, or I've been putting off cleaning or decluttering for so long that I think, oh my gosh, it's gonna take like, you know, 8 hours. And then when I clean it, it takes, you know, like 30 minutes. We want to kind of estimate how long it's gonna take, and then at the end, we're going to compare how long it really took to kind of what we guessed. And that'll help us as we work through our homes, not to be so overwhelmed by projects that we've been putting off for a while. And then also just kind of get better about figuring out how long something will take so that we can plan better. I hope this worksheet helps, and that answering the questions just gives you a little more insight into how you do want to use your home and work through this process. If you have not finished the prep work from day one, definitely work on getting that and today's worksheet done. And then tomorrow we will start decluttering. So get a good night's sleep and get ready, because we get to work tomorrow.